Alright, so hey guys, it's Demise, and for the first time in almost a month, I've started recording again. This one is done still before all the videos have been published, so this is going to be a little bit of a random one in the middle of, I guess, the tournament videos. So joining me today is n1000, so n1000. Say hello.
Hello everybody. I'm n1000.
Yeah, and he has quite a couple of things that he's contributed to the game, both as a player, as a YouTuber, and as a guy who makes some changes. So, do you want to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I started playing Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup back in 0.7, so I guess that makes me an old fogey. Pretty quickly, I got interested in kind of 3 rune speedruns, so I have a few nice games of those. Uh, and then many years ago, I made a video that some of you may have seen, a Minotaur Berserker tutorial. And that video was back before there was a lot of YouTube content. I felt like lots of people learned pretty well from watching videos, watching tutorials. So I just played through a game, and I really wanted to win in one shot because I was on a winning streak. So I knew it was a perfect time to record a tutorial to teach people how to win.
So so n1000's actually someone who's made YouTube videos before. So I think it's pretty cool for us to talk. Um, but today we're going to be talking mostly about the 0.18 tournament. So yeah, if you don't know what that is, then you haven't been on my channel because it's the only thing that's been going up for like a month and a half now. Sorry about that. I really do want to start recording again, but unfortunately, I've got like 100 pages of notes that I'm reading, and then I have to do practice exams based on those notes. So I don't exactly have time to record. And if I did have time to record, um, then I would be recording, obviously, but I'd be doing a backlog probably. So yeah, 0.18 tournament came out. I already forgot all the topics that we need to talk about, so let's go over the results. So first place was Yermak. You guys have heard me bitch about Yermak a lot.
You bitch about him.
Yeah, in like 100 videos, I've bitched about him. I'm like, God damn it, this guy, he's playing way too much. I can't hold up. Like,
Yeah,
obviously,
Yermak's a monster.
he's been playing. He played like double digits every day for the whole 2 weeks of the tournament. I couldn't beat him. Like,
Yeah,
I
you know the history of Yermak. It's kind of interesting.
yeah
Back when he started playing, he was winning all these different Spriggans and taking high scores for all the Spriggans.
yeah.
And I think a lot of us back then thought he was kind of a one-trick pony. You know, this guy's maybe the Spriggan master, but I mean, anyone could win a Spriggan. It's no big deal. And over the years, he's transformed into just among
All
the
rounder.
best players of Dungeon Crawl, yeah, and most dedicated as well, as you can see from his tournament performance, winning 30 games, I think.
Yep, 30 games. Freaking hell.
Of course, our very own Demise won 30 games as well.
Look, the thing is, like, as much as I bitch about like how much his time like far exceeded. I think he beat me by about 4 days worth of work in the 14 days of in the 16 days of the tournament.
Ha.
That was ridiculous. Like, he beat me by 72 extra hours. Like, I couldn't handle it. But anyway, even if you say that, he still beat me in every single way because he beat me in win rate. He beat me in polyatheist, so he won with every god. Polytheist, and he won in greater player, which I managed to lose. I was so damn close to getting greater player. I was 2 combinations away from winning. So I had to win a transmuter, an octopode, and a wizard. And I lost my octopode wizard 2 hours before the tournament finished with a freaking 3 rune on the orb run. I did not record it because
really brutal.
I was so deliriously tired at the time. But I still remember exactly what I died. I died to a Spriggan Berserker that freaking berserked me, and I'm an
Spriggan
octopode.
Berserker on the orb run.
Yeah, I couldn't kill it because I didn't have anything left. I spent almost an hour and a half doing Zot and Abyss. Abyss was the absolute worst game of all. That was the worst Abyss of all time. It took me a good 45 minutes to get through it.
Yeah, actually, I remember when that happened. I didn't exactly follow what killed you, but my team was kind of worried that your team was making a push for first place at that point.
Oh wait,
I'm
you were
a
in the
teammate of
first
his.
team?
Yeah, I was
What?
on the AWBW team.
No way. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I didn't even know, dude. Oh my god. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's why I wanted to do this video. I thought it'd be kind of nice to
Oh
have,
you. Oh you
excellent
scum.
individual placement and
You
a
scum.
representative from, of
Having
course, the
he
top
came here
team.
just to promote his own team. I didn't even know
Yeah.
that. I thought he was just a cool guy. Oh. Yeah. So I came second. But I did win a speed run. Fastest game of crawl of all time. Other than
Yeah,
bots.
you
One
don't
one.
know, Demise won a game in 41 minutes, an absolutely incredible achievement. So give
Yes,
it up for
thanks.
him.
Unfortunately, I didn't get the sick traffic that came with that video. That's on Z's channel because he's the one who recorded it. It has like 600 something views at this time, which is really sad because that could have been my views. But that's okay. He recorded it when I forgot. But make sure you note that that video, I wasn't aware that I was being recorded, so I was a bit more silly than normal. I was just kind of having fun with ultraviolence. So yeah, I do speak in tongues at some point, but I think that was tactfully edited out because that was a bit embarrassing. Yeah. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, third place, Ultraviolent 4. There's gonna be another video probably with me and the rest of the crew, just shooting the shit. But he came third, 8 wins in a row. God damn, it would have been 9, but he won a Vinestalker monk when he already won a monk, so it didn't count. Good on him. Me and him, we just basically destroyed everyone in terms of, like, us collectively beat pretty much everyone else in terms of uh, in clans, I guess, which we'll talk about in a sec. So AWVW banned blowguns, and needless violence, led by Walkerbow. And apparently our very own n1000 is in here. They were the top clan. How much did you guys win by? Quite a
Oh,
lot,
we
right?
won. We won by it was going to be impossible for you to catch up because the step down on species, class, and god points is pretty severe once you're among the top teams.
Yeah.
And at that point, really the only substantial points you can continue to earn are for streaks.
Yeah. Well, technically not the case. What was happening was, okay. So I didn't really explain this very well, but I didn't really understand what was going on at the time because I was almost dead. I was actually half unconscious while playing, but I heard in the back of my mind that Ultraviolent and Mega Slime were stealing your combos.
Oh,
Um,
they were doing that.
they were taking combo high scores from you guys. I think we stole like 6 combo high scores or something. We took I think we definitely took halfling. No, we took human necromancer. I think. No, we took ghoul
Okay, and
and
that's
human
that's definitely an
arcane
excellent
marksman.
strategy for trying to switch things up in the last few, especially if you don't really have time to win more games, which is
Yeah,
often the case in the last few hours.
yeah, that was a pain. I don't think it's really worth doing normally, but we literally just took from whatever the lowest hanging fruit was in terms of high scores. We just kept grabbing them. Like at the time, I was really distracted by that freaking octopode, so I couldn't do anything. But yeah, that's what those two are doing. So what does AWBW stand for, by the way?
AWBW stands for Advance Wars by Web. So the old Game Boy Advance tactics game
Is
called
that the
Advance
tank
Wars.
one?
Yeah, it's a one you control soldiers and tanks and
Oh, I really like that game. Yeah, I played it on the DS.
yeah, so some of the members of the online community had some version of the game where you could play against each other online,
Oh,
and I never actually played that, but they spun it off into a crawl clan, and Morgan and Walkerbow are kind of the core of this clan,
so
and
oh
they're
oh god, I
massive
just
players, 100 wins each. Ooh, what was that?
sorry, I pulled my earphones out like an idiot because I'm an unprofessional prick. So sorry about that. What did you say?
That's okay. Well, I was just saying that the Advanced Wars community had a bunch of crawl enthusiasts they got into the game long ago, many years ago, but they've been steadily improving. And we've had some pretty nice tournament placements in the past, but this was definitely our strongest team. And everyone kind of came together to
Yeah.
win as a team. It wasn't like just go playing to have fun or playing for individual score. there was actually quite a bit of strategy among some of us to try to boost the team score more than individual score.
What's surprising to me is that none of you had particularly a huge number of 15 rooms. You had about one each, right? Or one or two each, which is really surprising to me that you bested us. Which is like, I know that sounds like I'm just being salty, but
no, it is definitely a great source of points, is stacking up the 15 rune wins, because you get lots of points for each time you collect a rune. Although it decreases the more you get them.
Yeah.
But we had strong streaks from several players. We had at least one 15 runer from every player, I think. And while maybe the next thing we could have done to really push the points up to a higher level would be for those of us who only got one 15 runer to do another one. It didn't seem to be necessary, because everyone had, a pretty substantial chunk of points.
But it's really weird. Like, obviously, I'm really trying hard not to shit on anyone, because like, you guys beat us. But like, no, okay. The way I'm gonna phrase this is that my team had Bob the Cannibal and Mega Slime, therefore we lost. Put it that way. Is that because I can't? I don't want to put any undue pressure on people who aren't like directly. I know them in real life, so they can't take the heat. Those guys. No, okay. Look, Mega Slime did really good in this tournament. Like, freaking amazing in terms of like what he did. He won 215 runes, which is very good for us, like, comparatively, and he won a game in 33k turns. But anyway, what I suppose is the difference in you guys and us is that you guys won. Did you actually win all the hard combos, or what did you win? What particularly got you the most points? Is it just the fact that you had high scoring points, or?
So what got us a lot of points?
Yeah.
The worst players on our team had fairly decent performances, and I think that's the key, because if you had an amazing tournament, of course you got second place overall, but for your team points, what's pushing you from like 10th place to second place is not really moving your whole team up. A player who can move your team's ranking higher is the person with the fewest points on the team. So they still might have the 15 rune points available. They might have their own speed run points, their own high score points, or their own streak. Once you're like among the top 5 players, it's very hard to gain extra points in those categories.
Pretty much. Well, look, it's not. I'm not really calling Checkers or Bob the Cannibal out, because Bob was playing, like, I think he was only playing a little bit, and Checkers is Checkers, so fuck that guy, right? That's right, Checkers, your fault. No. Look, we only added Checkers and KR Freak because of like just like literally everyone on my team was saying, "What the hell are you doing, dude? Go get some people on our team. We need to have a full team." That's it. Literally the only reason why they're there. It's not because we were trying to poach them points or anything, or we're not trying to like. I wasn't really thinking too hard about it. I was just like, Checkers is a good friend. KR Freak is a really good person who's been on the Discord a lot. I might as well just add him in. So, and KR Freak actually did a lot of work that I wasn't expecting. He won like a whole bunch of games, and he got us. Hang on, this is really hard to navigate with no like URL. I can't tell what I'm looking at, but yeah, he actually did really good. He did 1900 points. Bob the Cannibal didn't manage to do 215 runs like he wanted to, and that's probably why we lost by such a large amount. I think if he played slightly more, we'd have about 500 extra points, which would be the difference between you and I, your clan mouse. But yeah, other than that, it was pretty interesting how like I'm surprised. Looking at your thing, you have a lot of Minotaurs and stuff. How did you get through like all the how did you get that many clan points with that many Minotaurs, Hillorks, Gargoyles, and such? Because I don't really understand how clan rankings work.
So many of the players on my team were just interested in getting, they're focused on getting the kinds of wins they wanted, and maybe that was a lot of Minotaurs, Gargoyles, and Hillorks.
Yeah.
But if you look at the sequence of wins, there's a lot more variety in the first week of the tournament than in the second. By the second week, it was just like, okay, we have maybe Felid and Formicid and
Oh wait, these go.
Zom left to win.
Wait,
Just
hang
not
on.
interested.
Do these go? Oh, whoops. These start from the bottom. Right. I was like, at the top, they were all Minotaurs. I was like, what?
Yeah. So if you look at, for at least for me, my first 3 games or my first 3 wins of the tournament, I didn't pick the character I wanted. I looked at what our team had already won. I looked at ongoing games that my clanmates were playing.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I'll play a Naga Venom Mage because I know that most of the AWBW guys hate casters. They hate conjurers. So I'll play that. I got to get the Vecna win for us. And I continued on, I just like playing the things that people hadn't played yet that seemed like, that would just be free points for us to get those points in early.
Yeah. Well, for our team, like, that's really interesting. Did you actually directly communicate with your teammates, or did you just like look at what they were doing?
No, we have an IRC channel. We're talking all the time.
Yes.
People, usually we're playing our games pretty independently, but if someone screws up, needs some help, we'll all tune in and kind of give them some advice. And yeah, it's definitely a team effort.
Yeah. Well, I guess our strategy was like very similar, but we're like, I don't know how old you guys are, but you sound a lot older than me. Like when did you start? Okay, when did you start playing Crawl? Put it that way. What year did you start? You said 0.7, right?
Yeah, I think I started playing offline in perhaps 0.6. My first Crawl game was probably in 2007, I think.
Holy crap, dude! 2007. When I was not very old at that time. I don't think I could have. Oh, dude, 2007. That was a long time ago. I'm only like 2013. I'm in. Oh, I know. 2013. I think I'm a bit of a youngling when it comes to the Crawl scene. But anyway,
that's decent though.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty good now. But like when I first hit Greater Player, I was pretty young. I was like still in high school, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I only my first online game was actually 2011. So I hadn't won until then. So I guess most of my experience is only since 2011. It's not not that old.
I agree. Like my first win was like not almost. It took me almost like 8 months to win my first game. It was the most like insanely tough experience of my life. It was every single day I would lose between like 30 and 80 games every single day, like without fail. I would play it on the train to school. I'd play it on the train from school. I'd play it during class. I'd play it at lunchtime, in the mornings. Like every second of my life in before that win was literally just playing that game and trying to get through. Like it was a tough like. I think it's really weird. I wonder if age actually is like an important factor of playing the game. It seems like the people who tend to be younger tend to be able to like throw hundreds of hours at it, whereas I hear a lot of like older players. I don't know if that's the case for yourself, but they tend to play on and off a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I put in a lot of work when I got to get my first win, and then between wins 1 and 50, I was just playing a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
And now I pretty much, if I'm curious about a new god or I have some sort of combo character idea I want to try, I'll play a game. But it's mostly like I'll play during a tournament.
Yeah.
It's the interest is kind of waned. But what you're speaking to earlier about how you would throw 30 to 80 games every day just losing.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how much easier the game gets after you've won? Like yes. I bet, at least for me, I used to do the same thing, and I can't even remember what the hard parts of the game was. I can't understand how I could have found this game so difficult now. It's bizarre.
I can still like. I think the memory for me is really fresh in my mind because, like, Crawl to me has been a huge journey. It's been a 3-year journey. Like I actually took a 6-month break in which I didn't play any Crawl at all. But like I can still remember where the hard parts are. For example, like I remember exactly where I was sitting the first time I ever hit lair. I remember the first time I won my game. I remember what I was doing. I remember what the temperature, like what it was pretty cold at the time. I remember what I was wearing. Like it's crazy how I don't know what your point was. Crap, I already forgot. But the point that I was trying to make is that like ultimately crawl it's just like this all-consuming experience. It was this all-consuming experience for me for a long, long time. I don't know if that's like were you like the same? I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely true. I think I firmly believe that the best part of the game is before you know the hell what you're doing. Like before you've gotten a win, where you're just
No.
figuring things out. Oh, it's so wonderful. The game seems so complex and just impossible, and there's so many mysteries to it, and you keep figuring things out and then updating what you figure out. Today, when I play, it's like, okay, this is the kind of character I'm going to build. I have a basically an extremely simple flowchart for how I handle every single fight. I determine whether or not it's dangerous, and if it's not dangerous, it's a complete, it's just a fight, no brains.
Yeah.
But back then, it was like, oh my gosh, here's this creature. I have never fought this creature. Is it going to kill me? What can I do? All kinds of bizarre interactions that I'm toying with in my mind. I'm just kind of coming up with these different theories of how to do fighting, and
Yeah.
maybe if you explore in this way, it's safer, and all this complexity, which now just seems kind of I've kind of forgotten about it.
I do agree, like in that like honestly I think that the game the more you know about the game, the more there is to argue. So like when I first started, yes, I enjoyed exactly what you're talking about. Like learning the game, making up these really poorly done strategies that really didn't like I guess that really showed off how little I knew about the game. I remember hundreds and hundreds of hours being dedicated to just looking up every single game from every single person that I saw on the leaderboard. I remember
Oh, you
looking
did
over.
that too.
Yeah, I looked over about like maybe 250 of Elliptic's games. I've looked up Bart's games. I think I looked up Fourth Hour Dragon. I looked up Purple Red, and I believe at the time there were a couple more. Min May. I looked up. I just looked up like literally everyone, and you can actually see that I still do that because my practice in practice what I do is after every I don't know if you've watched my videos. I don't think that's really good to ask, but at the end of every one of my videos that I've won, I always look over my own morgue as if it were, I guess, some game that I have never seen before that I didn't just play, and I pretend that I'm reading it for the first time, and I try to discern what the big points of decisions were and what that is. And I hope that makes like some really like I hope that sprouts some really good players that haven't really hit their potential yet to like get real good like by looking through stuff. But I think the most fun part about the game really was the research. Looking through Tavern, looking through Reddit, looking through YouTube, looking like everywhere basically to find what on earth like this how did these people get where they were? You know what I mean? That was probably the most fun part for me. But in regards to that thing where you said interest has been waning, your interest at least, the way I can contain my or the way I keep myself motivated is generally through project based activity. So I've got if you guys didn't know this, I'm talking to the listeners as well. I have about 7 different accounts on which I have generally different achievements. So for example, Demise win rate holds a 50% win rate. Demise WR for win rate holds 50% win rate. Demise SR is for my Minotaur speed runs. Demise 101 is a greater Minotaur. Demise is a greater player, almost times 2. And I think I'm starting a couple of new ones that I haven't really messed around with. I've got a couple of Smurfs that have started streaking, but I don't really care for them too much. And I've also got, a couple of random accounts that are just there for, like, literally randoming stuff. So, like, I think the best way for someone to stay, like, engaged in these kind of games is just have a goal. Like, aim for something. Like a lot of new players will be aiming for like their first win. Then it goes to 15 rune wins. Then it goes to good player. Then great player. Blah 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 blah. just winning like everything is essentially the way that you stay engaged. So 1000, I'm assuming you're a greater player, right?
Yeah, I'm a greater player. I have wins with every race and every class.
Do you have any other achievements like that you have?
So I've never been terribly interested in completionist achievements besides getting greater player, which I just considered to be like an important hallmark of completing the game.
Yes, I agree.
My current goal, like the way I maximize my fun and interest in crawl today, is to play a game and just kind of push myself to my own limit. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I'm not too interested in getting the highest score, the fastest win, or necessarily maximizing my streaking potential or win rate. I'm interested in kind of pushing all three of those at once.
Right.
Like, so one of the games that I like to talk about, or I like to brag about, is I have the fastest demon spawn win at about 25,000 turns.
Oh, okay, nice. Well done. Damn, hang on. I need to. How am I going to do this? Okay, so I'm going to go crawl to Mars 101, and then I switch to. Do you run n1000 on your? Is it n1000 or n1000? On
n1000.
Oops, that's n100. And I'm trying to pull up your stats because this is kind of awkward to do with YouTube recording and all that. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Why did I pull up the source? That's muting it. I don't want that. How do I? There we go. Where is this? Do you know when? Is this the demon spawn?
Demon spawn fire elementalist.
Do you know what win it was? As weird as that is to ask.
No, I don't know.
No, it was win number 21. Yes. I don't know where it is, man. Is it? Hang on. Ooh. Oh, I'm so smart. I used the Control F button. So your 61st win. 5 hours. Wow, that's pretty fast for a 25k turn count run. Damn, impressive.
Yeah. So let me tell you kind of the story of that game. It was not. I didn't start it as a speed run. That's what I think was crazy. I started playing a demon spawn fire elementalist. I said this character is pretty strong, so I'm going to go fast. Once you have 61 or 60 wins, you can win another one. You don't need to worry about doing everything optimally. You can take a couple of risks without lowering your win rate too much. So I was up till about Lair. I was pushing the character, but I wasn't willing to throw it away. I was just trying to push it as fast as it could survive, without completely ruining the late game. And then I found Wormbane, and I just said, okay, let's push this even harder, but still stay safe. I want to win. That's my number one goal. I'm going to win this character, but I'm going to do it as fast as possible. And I find that to be a really compelling and fun way to play. Very rewarding.
How do you speedrun with a mage? How do you turn count with a mage? I never understood that. Like, in terms of like winning in the low turn count with a mage, don't you have to wait for mana to regenerate, or did you just play melee when you had no mana?
You use what? I mean, you have to use a very kind of creative set of different killing methods. I if anything could kill a monster, I picked it up because I'm going to be burning through all my mana. I'm not extremely good at melee during the middle of the game, and certainly not the beginning of the game. Yeah. So I had to use bizarre things like combinations of elemental evokers and, just I can't even remember, just bizarre variety of weapons and consumables to save turns whenever you can. And I think that's actually a very fun way to play it because it requires a lot of thought. And I also try to optimize my exploration too, which I found to be an interesting thing to sort of discover, but it's not so much fun to implement.
Yeah, like I've actually seen like, Mega Slime used to like. I don't know why I'm bragging this again, but Mega Slime, his first game was a 2-room game. It took him about 2 days to get until he finally died because he wasn't auto exploring at all. He literally explored every single floor manually. It was the most disgusting thing to ever watch. Oh my god, I couldn't imagine that with like doing that on like a regular basis as a speedrunner. That'd be insane. I would not be able to do it. Anyway, I think we need to move towards what do we have to talk about?
Some more
Yes.
stuff about the tournament. Oh, so we wanted to talk about some of the scoring rules, right?
Yeah. So the main thing that we had to worry about, which I think I'll discuss a bit more with checkers later, is that um, I guess the fact that the tournament is really unkind to people who come late and also to people who uh, okay, so it's unkind to three different types of people. People who are generally like not good at winning, so they pick the strong races. But it's not good to people who come late, and it's not people who are. It's not good to people who don't put in a lot of time, because essentially time is the determining factor of are you going to win this tournament, or are you going to place well, or are you going to just be crap? Because time is what you need to win games quickly. It's what you need to win games carefully. It's what you need to win anything at all. You just need a lot of time. But yeah, let's talk about the Minotaur Berserker first, right? None, you want to bring up that point?
Yeah. So to explain to the listeners what's going on, at the start of the tournament, every single species and every single class is worth the same amount of points, and the number of points that a win with that species and class is worth changes based on how many people have won it before. So as people win Minotaur Berserkers of Trog, the amount of points you can earn for your team or your individual performance in the tournament decreases with every win of that combination. And similarly, the unwon combos become more valuable. So, of course, Minotaur Berserker being by far the fastest combination you can play, it's won very quickly by a lot of people at the beginning of the tournament.
Yeah.
And so if you're not a very strong player and you're unlikely to win that character you started on day one, minute one of the tournament, then suddenly you're losing out on a pretty substantial quantity of points that are already kind of scooped up by the kind of elites who win very quickly.
Pretty much. Like, if you played a Minotaur Berserker at the very end of the tournament, you would have gotten a nice casual 21 points for your combo. Like, it kind of sucks. Admittedly, yes, you do get your first win points, your first game points, your streak points, whatever. But ultimately, the fact is that like for a guy who hasn't played in the tournament, like who isn't very good. So, say for example, you're only really good at playing Minotaur, Gargoyle, Hillorc, Demon Spawn, and Deep Dwarf. You're not going to get that many points compared to someone who's able to win like literally everything under the sun and then everything past that as well. Like obviously, yes, that makes sense because players that are bad shouldn't really have like they should realistically be below players who can win every single game. But I don't know. I'm wondering if it's a bit disheartening for you to, I guess, go into a tournament, play the whole thing, win maybe one game or so, and then just get like maybe 100 points for it. Like I'm trying to look for the person with the lowest win. So looks like it's like Christoph who won one game, one Minotaur fighter at the 13th. So that's halfway through the tournament. So he won one game and he only got like, let's see, he got he got like 20 points for his Minotaur fighter of Okawara, 27 points. He got all the other points, but he only got 20. He got less than 30 for a combo god breakdown. Like that's pretty brutal, I think. But
yeah, it's pretty brutal, and I think there's a second kind of layer to that, which is, maybe this guy is not a very dedicated crawl player. He's a fairly casual player or even a beginner. Well, if you want to get extra points, you have to start that character within the first hour of the tournament. So not only is it a disadvantage for maybe the weaker or less experienced players, it's also a disadvantage for the people who have to work for that day or have school.
Me. That's me.
Regular people, everyone.
I had to wake up at 6 a.m. At 5 a.m. to play this tournament for 2 hours, and then I had to work. That was so bad. I hate that so
ridiculous.
much. Especially because Checkers is Australian. He should be running the tournament for Australians. No. But
I see.
Yeah, like it's 9 p.m. for I think UTC time, or whatever that is. Like But yeah, UTC. It's 9 o'clock p.m. For us, however, it's a Saturday on the 6 a.m. and the tournament finishes at 6 a.m. on Saturday, which meant that one night that I was supposed to be playing, I got 35 minutes of sleep, and then I had a 12-hour uni day. That was not fun in the slightest.
Yes.
I hated my whole life that day. I remember passing out and then forgetting to breathe for like 20 minutes. It was the worst. But anyway, that's another story.
So
Yeah.
there's one more thing I want to bring up about this Minotaur Berserker factor at the beginning of tournaments, which is we've already talked about how it's kind of an annoying feature for the new players or the less experienced players, but there's also a downside for veterans as well, which is if you're planning on going for one of the top scores in the tournament, you're planning on winning, let's say, over 10 or 15 games.
Yeah.
Well, you have to play your Minotaur Berserker first,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just simply sacrificing 40, 50 points from your final score just because you played what you wanted to play.
Yep, I had literally no choice but to play. Like, basically, my strategy was play all the most optimal stuff in the beginning of the tournament. So you can see here, I played Minotaur, Deep Dwarf, Demon Spawn, Halfling, Naga, and then Demigod. Oh, and actually, that really starts to fall apart. My first 3 games essentially were the 3 most broken combinations I could think of. And then
the ones who are going to be worth less and less every day the tournament goes on.
Yeah, pretty much. And like, oops. Yeah, and Ultra did the same. Yomak didn't do the same, but he was doing something different. He was doing only Nemlek's Choice at the time. Let's see, Kelhus. No, he didn't do that.
Kelhus played only Nemlek's Choice as well.
Yeah. Nemlek's Choice is different. There were people who did Nemlek's Choice first because that gives them extra points. But for people like me who are just trying to go for wins per unit of time, the only optimal way to play was win all the easy stuff first and then worry about everything else later. That's literally the only way I could think of, like, that would succeed in my mind. And it was really stressful because my first game was actually a loss, and it was on the wrong account. It cost me 49 minutes. And that cost me an extra 150, like 100 points, I think. It was pretty bad. Like, I accidentally played on Demise SR because I was rushed. And then I died to the Lernian Hydra. God, that was bad. Anyway, like, I don't know if that could be changed in any way, but it kind of sucks. One little thing I also want to bring up about that ruling is that because the points are based on at the time of the starting of the game, the optimal strategy, I guess, is to have it so that the second you die, you pick your next combination and then you stop playing. And that feels like a really weird niche case to me, because I felt like a lot of games where I was really on tilt, I would just pick a combination that I didn't want to play, but I picked it because it had the best points, and then I would just be sad for the next game that I played after a break. You know what I mean?
Right. It sort of favors this thing where it forces you to play something you don't really want to play. Yeah, that's something I hadn't thought about.
Well, it's not really that it's not what you want to play. It's more like you have to lock in as soon as possible, or else you don't get as many points. It's like you basically don't get a chance to, I guess, take a breather and come back and look at your options. Your strategy is, oh shit, I died, or oh shit, I won. Start a game, pick a combination, don't press it. Don't press anything. It's a bit of a weird behavior, I guess, that it forces you to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's actually optimal after a certain point in the tournament, because once the gargoyles, minotaurs, and hillarchs of the world have all decreased in points, later on in the tournament, it's fair to not start your character and wait for the weaker combos to become kind of even more stacked up, like things like Felids and things like.
But in this regard, I'm talking about like a matter of hours. I mean, like,
okay,
not in over days, because that makes sense, yes. But I'm talking about like if someone wins a game of Felid within the hour that I take a break, I lose points essentially. If I were to pick another Felid,
right.
So my strategy was die, pick a Felid, so that if anyone won with it, I wouldn't lose so much. So, like, I wouldn't lose that difference of 10, 20 points. And it was a bit of it was just a bit of a weird niche case that I feel like it might need to be changed, but I don't think it does. It's just like a weird thing that I noticed with the thing that I don't know. It just makes a bit of like not a lot of sense to me, at least. But yeah, that's pretty much. Did you want to say anything else about the tournament rules? We can talk about
Uh,
other stuff later, I think.
yeah, I just wanted to briefly mention that there is something that the organizers of the tournament have been discussing, and this is not going to be the rule in 0.19 or anything, but it's just something on the table right now, which is weighting the initial scores for species, background, and god based on the wins in the previous tournament. So if you look at the
Ah,
species, background, and god page for this tournament, maybe that will either influence or that will actually be the starting values for day one, minute one, 0.19.
that's a really exciting premise. That's actually really exciting. But the only problem is once you like, you'd have to make it flexible in some way because otherwise you just have the same scoring for every single tournament, right?
Right. Yeah. I,
You need to have some
I,
kind of
I
like
would hope it was flexibility.
shift it up or
Absolutely.
down. Like Minotaur would start off like slightly higher than 14 and then go down to 14 over time. And if it was one more than before, it would go below 14, for example. Right?
Yeah, I think that would, whatever solution or whatever implementation they came up with of that basic idea would, you try to include that kind of dynamics, definitely.
That's a really interesting thing. That actually really is exciting because that would mean that Minotaur would pretty much be trashed the second you started it, which would mean that we wouldn't have to play so many Minotaurs. Ugh, God, actually, never mind. I love
Right.
playing Minotaurs. Sorry, Minotaur God.
Yeah.
Sorry, Trog. Soz. Anyway, let's just go quickly on to flavor of the tournament, I guess. So, um, if for those of you that don't know, I don't originate from Crawl. My first game was not Crawl. Fun fact: my first game that I really got into, I think, was League of Legends. Probably. There were a couple of other games, but I don't really remember them anymore. But look, the point that I'm trying to say is that for me personally, when it comes, I don't treat this game as it is, I suppose, understood by older players. Like, I guess none. You can. Okay, I'm gonna say what I think about how I treat the game, and then you can call me insane. How about that? Is that fair?
Fair.
Like, okay, so essentially the way I see this game is as it's the same as a multiplayer game like League, like Dota, like CS:GO. I see it with meta. I see things with meta games, so games within games. I see it as in with all these Nash equilibriums. Even though it's a single player game, I see the world, or at least the way that the game is approached by players, as kind of a joint effort. Everyone kind of takes a strategy, and based on that strategy, other players adopt and slowly change their playstyle towards that strat. So, for example, the best one that I want to explain, I guess, is the meta shift, which is where all the players move to a certain strategy of the Glow's 18 win streak in 0.11. So that one was there was a tavern post. There was a tavern post at some point that analyzed the entirety of the thing. I read it like 100 times, but essentially what it said was at the core of it, the Minotaurs all had Fire Dragon armor. The winners all the melees had Fire Dragon armor and haste. So that led to a shift in which haste and Fire Dragon armor were incredibly, I suppose, like popular for a very long time. I think they only started, I guess, shifting down a little bit in about 0.15, 0.16. So the shift of the effect of that one post pretty much led to basically like 100 different, like 100, like maybe like a couple of thousand games that were played with just Fire Dragon armor and haste, like just because of that one post. And I think like if you consider people like myself who are very invested in researching other players, in trying to steal strategies essentially, you'll see that players that change their playstyle will slowly, I guess, set the trend, set the trend for like other players to adopt. And you can kind of see that in, I guess, like Reddit and Tavern, where people will basically shit on you if you don't adopt the currently popular strategy at the time. So, for example, I tried once to play a vampire conjurer of Ashenzari that moved on to that tried to get Ice Storm up, and I went into IRC. So this is the main reason why I don't really hang around IRC that much. when I was really new back at the time. I think it was my third win. Basically, I tried to do this crazy strategy, and I was basically shit on for like 35 minutes straight by literally everyone in the IRC. They were like, "Oh my god, what the fuck are you doing? You're so shit. Oh, just kill yourself, mate." I'm like, I'm never coming back here. But like, essentially, what I'm trying to say is that there's a flavor of the month that kind of adopts in this game. That's like my meta shift. So, do you think that's normal, none, or do you think that's like out of the blue?
So one of the best things about Crawl is the community. There's huge community aspect. Like if you just get on a web tile server, you can tune into a game and talk to the player and get their advice. And so that what you're talking about, the meta, you know, good players or prominent players influencing other players to build their characters in a certain way, that absolutely happens. But what I'd like to add to that, and maybe as a counterpoint, is I think there's actually multiple metas that kind of evolve it's somewhat independently of each other.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, what do I mean by that? I had an interesting experience where the leading player on my team, Walker Bow, recently made the comment, when are you going to nerf shields? They're such a no-brainer. And I thought, shields? I don't use shields on my berserkers. I don't use shields on my melee characters. And I realized that there's essentially two schools of thought which had separately evolved. There's a group who thinks that the added defenses of shields vastly overcompensate for the slight reduction in base damage that a two-handed weapon gets. And then there's another school of thought which said that the only danger in this game is monsters killing you before you kill them. And the best defense is a great offense.
I think oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, my bad. I was just trying to interject that I think that like offense and defense thing is a little bit outdated now, honestly. Like with the amount of spike damage in the game, like my honest reasoned answer is that the most important thing in the game now is health. There is literally there's no way that with a two-handed weapon, yes, you're going to be able to kill stuff, but if you die in 3 turns, it's going to be real sad for you. That's all I wanted to say. Sorry, you can continue.
Right, no. Actually, I'm interested in hearing more about this. So I think that a character who's using say an executioner's axe versus a character that's using a broad axe plus shield, they could have pretty close to the same amount of health. So, we still have this debate between offense and defense, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the case, but you have to. I guess the problem is not everyone is. Look, so in my clan alone, I have. So essentially, I have Ultraviolent and and Bob the Cannibal are both shield advocates, and I myself, I have literally no opinion on the fact. It's weird. Like there are those two schools of thoughts, but there's also like a third school that's just like I don't give a shit as long as it gives me a win. Like I never aim for a shield, but at the same time, if a shield is good or I get a good one-handed weapon, I will use a shield. It's kind of like an interesting thought, I guess. Into like now that you think about it, shields are pretty contentious. A lot of people are like, "Oh, shields are crap." A lot of people like stand by it as if it's like the best thing in the world. I know Ultra for a fact said that shields were overpowered. He said in his Hillock, he was playing Hillock BO, and it was just like, God, shields are like the absolute best thing ever. And I was like really surprised because I thought he'd just play it two-handers, but yeah, there's like a pretty interesting shift between. Do you think shields are more popular now or two-handed weapons?
I think shields have been increasing in popularity pretty steadily since
those changes, right?
Yeah, since many years ago, they've been kind of pushing it up, and I do think they're quite powerful now. But I'm not, willing to just make the kind of full jump to the pro shields camp.
So like, yeah, like I am one of those people that just don't have. I have very strong opinions on certain bits, but on other bits, I'm just like, yeah, you do what you want. I generally don't even remember what my characters wield, so I don't know if I have a particular slant towards shields or two-handers. I do know that on a Minotaur Berserker, though, 90% of the time I'm going to be going with a two-hander. My speedrun, surprisingly, was actually done with a one-hander and a shield, but that was a little bit. Like, I'm of the school of thought, I suppose, that the weapon is what determines if you have a shield or not. If you have a great weapon, then you use the shield. If you don't have a great weapon, then you use a two-hander. It's pretty much like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's absolute. I think that's very reasonable. I think that's actually one of the that's a pretty measured way of coming at choosing your weapon. You shouldn't start a character and say this is a shields character. You should
Pretty much.
It's important to adapt and crawl.
Yeah, that's like how I've been taking it. So other flavor of the month stuff, yeah. So interesting thing that happened was Okuwaru came by as the first god, as the most won god by other than Trog, and that is like 20. Like that's a sizable amount. That's almost like 10% additional, over 10% additional games from Trog, which is pretty insane. So I think this tournament. Let me actually compare this to last tournament. Wait, is this last tournament? Yeah, it is. Oh. So last tournament, Okuwaru was also first, but by a lot smaller margin, only 9 games. So what do you think? What do you think's like bringing that Okuwaru up? Do you think?
Yeah, that's quite interesting because I think that it's pretty fair to say that Trog is a stronger god than Okawaru, and I think most people would agree with that.
Wait, what did you just say?
Oh yeah.
What?
So
Say that again.
Trog is a stronger god than Okawaru.
What?
What?
Did you glitch out? How do you pronounce that?
Okawaru?
Okawaru?
Okawaru? I don't know. I mean, this is the Crawl universe. How do you pronounce Kiku?
I pronounce it as Kiku.
Yeah, say the full name.
Kiku Barracuda.
Yeah, so that's as ridiculous as Okawaru.
No, it's Kiku, because it's like kick you.
Kiku Bakuga.
This is another thing that I want to mention briefly. Fucking name creep, dude. Feature creep. Name power creep. Oh, let me go and pick Ukuba and Hekuba. What? I can't even pronounce those names.
Yeah, I have no idea what that god's name is.
And what on earth is a Tzitzimal? Huh? What's a Tzitzimal? That's not a word. But just call it a shadow fiend. It's a shadow fiend. God damn it.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't stand that. But it's the worst thing because I am the person who speaks these words. Like I'm one of those few people that actually says these words in real life.
You're the only one who suffers from it because you make videos.
Yeah.
The devs don't care. They don't ever have to read this aloud.
Yeah, but I'm like, oh my god, it's a tits. I'm like, that does not sound like a threatening enemy. God. I actually just call it a tits now. It just sounds so stupid, but anyway. Yeah,
okay, so back to Trog and Oka. Trog's better. This is just a fact. But way back in the day, it was kind of a default god. Oka was. If you played a character you wanted to play melee, you go with Oka so you can get your armor. And
honestly, I'd still go with Oka. Like the thing is, okay. So the interesting thing is that there's two like conflicting things. Okuwaru should be going down in popularity because hybrids are going down in popularity. Generally, these days, you do not see a lot of scalds. I can say this with reasonable certainty. The reason why you wouldn't see a lot more scalds these days, and by scald I mean the general merfolk gladiator Okuwaru who runs haste, repel missiles, blink, passage of Galubria, phase shift, Ozakubo's armor, stone skin, blah 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 blah. The reason why you don't see them is because a lot of these spells have actually been nerfed or removed. Like Swiftness got nerfed, Ozakubo's armor got nerfed, phase shift got removed, stone skin got removed, etc., etc., etc. You would expect that a god like Okuwaru, who is basically the patron god of scalds, would really fall in popularity. But the other trend is also that new players tend to play Minotaur Fighter a lot. It's surprising, but they say that Minotaur Fighter is actually... I would say that Minotaur Fighter is as good as Minotaur Berserker. I don't know if it's actually the case, but I would say at least they're very comparable. The Might Potion is really strong. And I would also say that the Shield is really very powerful. It sounds weird to say that Shield is powerful, but it is powerful, ultimately. And also you start off with a War Axe rather than a Hand Axe. It's quite... Yeah. And scale mail too, like if that's anything, which it really isn't.
It matters a little bit. I mean, starting with an animal skin on the most dangerous floor of the game, D1, it means something.
Yeah, and like Minotaur Berserker, you tend like as brain dead as I call it because I've won like 20 of them. I still think Minotaur Berserker is tough if you don't know exactly when to berserk. if you don't know, I don't know who's going to be up to this point and really, I don't know who's a noob and would actually like listen to this point. But if you don't know how to berserk, please go look at my tutorial or look at n1000s if you. I keep calling you n1000. It's n1000, right? Wait, your channel name is n1000. No, I have to call you n1000 because your channel name is n1000. If I want to sell you out, I have to actually. Call you n1000. Right. Yeah. So if you want to see an ASCII tutorial that's out of date, you can look at n1000. Oh, that was a sick burn. Or if you want to look at mine, which is also out of date by now, go check it out. It's on the channel. Anyway, yeah. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. Oh, gargoyles. Yes, new gargoyles. Gargoyles came out in 0.13. And they have made a consistent appearance in the top combinations for winning. You can see here 138 gargoyles. Can't beat Minotaur because Minotaur's absolute apeshit broken. But gargoyles have a higher amount of wins than Hillorks even. It's pretty insane how good they are compared to Hillorks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Gargoyle gives you a lot of advantages early on, especially if you are a newer player who's not extremely good at identifying early game threats. You might think, oh, I'll take a chance with this adder, where a more experienced player will just run away. And Gargoyle just doesn't have a problem with that, with their exceptional armor and poison resistance. It's really a powerful species.
That really does make it interesting now that you point that out. The reason why Gargoyle is strong is because it basically condenses every single danger that you could have into a single resource, health.
Right.
So, like, all of the danger that you can see around you is just based on how much health you have left. Compared to, like, Minotaurs, where the danger might not be in your health bar, but there's a dude next to you that does poison damage, but you haven't gotten hit by it yet. Whereas Gargoyle, as long as your health bar is fine, you're fine, pretty much. You know what I mean? That's
absolutely the case until later on in the game. And later on, once a new player gets their character through Lair, they're in the channel asking for advice, they're on Tavern asking for advice, or they're really thinking and caring about this character. So it's got this. They're considering things like resists more than they're considering them early in the game.
Yeah.
So I do think that even though I do believe that Minotaur is stronger than Gargoyle, just because it has so much more health, better aptitudes, I think that based on like what the considerations that a newer player has, the things that they notice, the things that they focus on, Gargoyle is kind of complements that very well.
Yeah, it's quite good. Well, look, I think that Minotaur is stronger than Gargoyle, if only for the fact that A, you generally use axes on Minotaur, which makes them freaking amazing, and B, the fact that the headbutt is so damn broken. In the early game, the headbutt is more damage than your axe half the time. It's pretty crazy how good that thing is. Like, oh god, the number of times I've seen something kill itself on me without me even looking at it is hilarious. If it does random energy and it misses, and then I headbutt it back, I often kill stuff without even realizing that I killed it. That's really interesting. Like, I've played a lot of Minotaur games. I think I've played about like 40 or 50 at this point. Oh, that's a lot of Minotaur games. Anyway, is there anything else you want to bring up before we finish up? Because this is about an hour now, and I don't really want to have a video that's over an hour by too much.
Okay. Well, I think we covered a lot of points, and hopefully some thought-provoking points for the listeners who are either participated in the tournament or are excited about participating in the next tournament. So how about you? Is there anything else that you wanted to mention?
Well, look, the thing is, the other stuff that I'm going to mention is going to be in a different video. If you're online, we'll put you on in the video, but it's mostly going to be me and Ultra and maybe Checkers. And we're just going to be like basically talking about like mostly Ultra's like tournament experience, because he's improved a buttload since the last one, and like our strategies that our clan took and all that stuff. Just in-house stuff that generally doesn't really have too much relevance, but it's kind of nice to have, I guess, an archive of our strats, because last tournament we did have a bit of an archive, but I screwed up the recording, so I missed like half of it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So do you have nothing else to say? Good?
Yeah, well, shout out to my clan members, AWBW. Congrats
Okay,
to
we've been sold.
yourself and...
Stop selling out. Stop selling out. No.
Wait. I was going to say congrats to Demise for his awesome performance. Congrats to Ultra for another awesome performance in the tournament. And definitely excellent job, Yermak, for winning it all.
Yeah, thanks, Yermak. God damn it. Oh, one more point. One last point. 65 wins for our clan. 45 for you guys. What do you have to say about that? There you go. 20. Our clan had 65 wins, the highest of every other clan. By like.
Yeah, it's simple. It's quality over quantity.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, fun fact, we actually had at least 20 wins over every other clan in the tournament. It's pretty sick. But yeah, having said that, having bragged that, and hitting just over an hour, thank you guys so much for listening, and look out for the next video.